Aborting more than 1 of every 4 pregnancies, creating human clones, eliminating our elderly with euthanasia. Is this how we should deal with human life? Find out how you can make a difference in changing our culture in this edition of Life Matters. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Prolife Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on the right to life, on the culture that's emanated from that idea that there is a right to life, and on the battle of ideas that's raging right now about that. Is there a right to life? What does it mean? I'll tell you, it's not about your feelings, because people have different feelings about abortion, about the right to life. It's not about your religion. People have different religious beliefs, and we want to respect those. The right to life is not about either of those things. It's a fundamental premise that America's founders said is a premise in a just society for just laws. It's a self-evident truth that all human beings are created by a creator, not by the government. The government doesn't own you. The government, in fact, has a duty under God, has a duty to protect your life because it's your creator that gave you the gift of life. The government cannot grant the right to life. It merely has a responsibility to ensure it. Well, today we're going to talk about the right to life very specifically, and yes, regarding the issue of abortion. As you know, the issue of abortion is often misrepresented by the popular media. They use euphemisms. They don't like talking about the nature of abortion itself, so they'll use phrases as a substitute. Reproductive rights, choice. Well, wait a second. What is being chosen? Does this kill another human being? Science says that it does. In fact, it's inescapable. But there's even more, and today we have a very important release of information regarding the state of California and its admission, just how late it's willing to kill babies and what kind of reasons are needed. And if you give a guess, I'll bet you guess, there's no reason needed. In spring of 2020, the California Prolife Council filed suit with the state of California in a Freedom of Information Act request regarding the nature of funding of abortion in California. You're going to hear in a little bit from Sheila Green, who is an attorney for the California Prolife Council. Sheila is Harvard educated and is an attorney and has been fighting for the right to life for many years now, and specifically on behalf of the California Prolife Council, filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the state to find out just what the real nature of abortion is. Most of what is done in California is covered up by the current administration that believes in unlimited abortion. They use the phrase choice as a shibboleth that basically is a 100% commitment to the abortion mentality. There's no abortion that they're willing to limit. You must be willing to view that child as owned by the mother. And you must assume, as the abortion industry wants you to, that this child you own can be killed at any time. It's a premise now of our culture when it comes to the Democrat Party and most of the media, that choice is taken as a given, and you're not to ask about the child. But it's important that they take this position because polling has consistently shown that the average person who calls himself pro-choice does not believe that that should happen in late-term abortions. In fact, consistently, as recently as 2019, the Marist poll, also the Gallup poll every year, demonstrates that people who call themselves pro-choice, 80% of them do not support late-term abortion. And in particular, if there's no medically indicated reason. And you're going to hear in a moment what the state of California has now put in ink. It's a statement of admission by the state of California. They will pay for abortion at any gestation, regardless of age, through and up to the 9th month. They will also pay for abortion without any medically indicated reason. And what that means is there's no need for there to be a hard case. There's no need to have something wrong with that child or with the mother. You in California are paying with your tax money for the killing of older children, healthy babies from healthy moms in the name of choice. This is stunning information that they don't want discussed because when it is known, the vast majority of even pro-choice people do not agree with this as public policy. So it's important in this debate, when you go to your neighbors and talk to them about abortion, if you're talking about your particular theology, you're going to alienate them. There'll be people at your own church, by the way, that may not agree with your theology. We want you to understand what's at stake in abortion is a self-evident truth. The right to life is a self-evident truth. Either you're killing a human being or you're not. When it is so obvious in late term, even your friends and neighbors, they don't agree with killing a child that could be born alive the next moment. That's just stunning. And the newspaper, television, pop media industry don't want people to know that this happens. They want to view it in a very distant way. They never mention anything about the child because that's what this debate is about. If this is not a human child, then I'll be honest with you, I've got better things to do. But if this is a human child that's being thrown out, and if this child, in fact, has nothing wrong with it, as you know, they usually invoke, oh yeah, but it's a hard case. No, the state of California has now admitted in ink, you don't need to have the hard cases. You don't need any medical reason to kill that baby. You need to know this. This is an objective fact. The state of California has now put it in ink. Our job is to make it known. There needs to be some kind of limits on abortion. Right now, the Democrat Party that controls the legislature of California wants absolutely no limits on abortion, and in fact, they don't care. The woman needs no reason. Abortion on demand at any time, for any reason, or for no reason in particular. That's what choice really means. So when we come back, we're going to talk with Sheila Green. I want you to take special note of this program. We're going to be talking about the Freedom of Information Act statement from the State Department of Health Services. That's available online at californiaprolife.org. You can look at it. It's on page 2 where they admit this. This needs to be made known, and the pop press is not going to make it known. You're going to have to make it known because other people will agree with you. Don't talk about zygotes. Don't get into a debate when life begins. So it's very important that you take advantage of the known facts and make the known facts known. In fact, just by way of example, I've told other people, and I've mentioned it on this show before, I had a reporter talking to me, and he immediately said, well, this raises the whole question of when does life begin? And I said, no, it doesn't, because you're not killing a baby when life begins. If this is the question, if we don't know when human life begins, does that mean I can kill you? No. We know that in killing him, I'm killing a human being. And we know in every abortion, it is killing a human being. And particularly now with late-term abortion. This is something that your friends and neighbors, when they know that this is what's meant by choice, talk about late-term abortion. Ask them if they favor that when there's nothing wrong with the child. The polls are pretty consistent. 80% of Americans say, no, not there. And LA Times used to do the same poll. The LA Times, when they would ask about choice, they get high numbers for pro-choice in California. But when they asked about the term, the age of the child, or the reason you were killing the child, those numbers were flipped. And even in California, 78% of Californians do not want abortion on demand for any reason or no reason in particular. This is hugely significant that the state is now admitting that that's what's going on. We'll be right back.
Life Matters continues after this.
Life Matters is sponsored by the California Prolife Council, the state affiliate of the National Right to Life Committee. To find out more on how you can help and be involved right where you are, go to californiaprolife.org. That's californiaprolife.org. We'll tell you how you can get involved in your local community, how you can be effective if you want to be a pro-life speaker. We have training programs and open doors of opportunity for you to speak on the life issue. If you'd like to donate your car or a boat, you can do that at californiaprolife.org. Car Easy makes it easy, and you find that on our website. We get the most of any donation program. Car Easy allows us to get the most out of your car. Maybe you're not getting the trade-in value you wanted. Maybe it's just not running the way it used to. Let your car be used for life. Go to californiaprolife.org and find out what you can do to make a difference. californiaprolife.org.
Be sure to subscribe to the Life Matters podcast with Brian Johnston. Go to lifematters.life to subscribe. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
We're going to now come back and join our conversation with Sheila Green, talk about what you can do locally. You will have to take just a little time to take these steps. They're not hard. We want to equip you, and that's why we're here. Back to Sheila. Well, this is a very exciting interview with one of our California Prolife Council officers and board members who is actually an attorney. And Sheila Green is the Central Vice President of the California Prolife Council and also trained as an attorney at law. She took legal action on our behalf and filed a California Freedom of Information Act complaint against the State Department of Health Services. We have known this for a long time, that there's things that are done in your name by the state of California with your tax money by the state of California, which they hide through their bureaucracy. And unless you're willing to cut through the fog, you won't find out about it. Thankfully, they did respond. You'll hear in a moment, they continue to hide things, but they responded to a very powerful premise that you need to understand, and this is blockbuster information. The state of California funds all abortions all the time. There need not be anything wrong with the baby. There need not be anything wrong, and those are in quotes, with the mother. It's abortion on demand, and now they have admitted it. This is blockbuster, and you need to know this and share this with your friends. Sheila, tell us about this California Freedom of Information Act request and the response.
Well, thank you, Brian. As Brian mentioned, we're very interested in eliciting from California the truth about what is done with state tax dollars, your tax money. So we asked them very directly, does Medi-Cal cover abortions regardless of gestational age without any medical justification? Because we had evidence that they do. And I know that people are shocked to hear that this is happening. Most people think that abortion is only allowed in the first trimester, and it's often said, oh, if it happens after that, it's because of fetal deformity, things like that, really quote-unquote hard cases. But we understood that this was not the case, particularly in California. So we asked the Department of Healthcare Services, do they in fact cover abortions throughout all 9 months with no medical justification? And they admitted that they do. And the information is found in the Medi-Cal Provider Manual, which spells out that it's a covered benefit. And I'm reading from the Provider Manual. Abortion is a covered benefit regardless of the gestational age of the fetus, and medical justification and authorization for abortion are not required. So in answer to our question, the Department of Healthcare Services simply reproduced that page from the Provider Manual. So no justification given for it. They just said, yes, this is what we do.
Well, this is stunning, and there's more. The request was rather detailed, and Sheila will tell you they continue to obfuscate and hide. That's what they do, but you need to know this, if you follow the abortion debate at all, that's also what the media is doing regarding the issue of abortion. They have intentionally misrepresented what is legal under Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton. You'll hear more about that in a moment. Doe versus Bolton is an important decision that doesn't get talked about by the media. They do not want to talk about it. But this admission you just heard is blockbuster. There were some other things in addition, though, Sheila, that you asked that they've avoided intentionally. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So one of the things that the Provider Manual requires abortion providers to tell the state the gestational ages of the babies. They're also required to tell the type of procedure that they use. So we asked the Department of Healthcare Services, what are the gestational ages of these babies? Because it's required to be provided. They said, and I'm just going to read from the response, DHCS does not collect that data, which is, we're going to request an explanation for that, but it's very telling that that's something that's required and they don't want to know. It's kind of a don't ask, don't tell scenario here. They do tell the type of procedure used, and from that, we're able to glean that about 10% of the abortions are second and third trimester, but we don't know the exact ages. And we're going to try to find out, but that may not be knowable because the state doesn't want to know.
You also found out some interesting information regarding type of procedures used. Tell us about that.
Right. That's what I was saying. The dilation and evacuation is the procedure that is used on second and third trimester babies. And for the years 2009 to 2016, anywhere from 8 to 12% of the abortions performed were dilation and evacuation. So we're reasonably certain, therefore, that those are older babies. Although we don't know particularly what trimester they were in, we know that they're not first trimester abortions. There's also a category of the types of procedures which they call other, not defined. And in 2016, there were 8% of these types of abortions. That's another question we're going to ask in follow-up to find out what types of procedures are considered, quote unquote, other, because that might actually expand the number of abortions that are post first trimester, second and third trimester.
Right. And the fact that they would be so inspecific as to specifically call it other. And as you've pointed out, that category has leapt in terms of over the years. They're doing these, quote, other abortions at a much higher rate now.
Yes, they are. It started out from my memory, from 2009 to 2014, they were less than 1%. And in 2015, they were 2 point something percent. And then in 2016, they were 8 point something percent. So it's very interesting how the jump. And so that's something we're going to follow up on to find out what's the reason for that jump and what these procedures actually are.
So it's important, if you're listening now for the first time, to recognize the state of California is admitting they do abortions on demand for any reason or no reason in particular. And that's the real meaning of choice. They're doing the abortion simply because it's chosen. There does not have to be a reason. And in the abortion worldview, if you have to give a reason and you limit abortions to those reasons, then you're denying choice. So that is the literal meaning of choice legally in the definition of, maybe not the media. The popular media is determined to keep you in the dark. The popular media is determined to not let you think about that human baby. In fact, if you listen carefully to the language, both the Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton decision, they never refer to a mother. If you use the language in which you talk about a mother, then you're admitting that there's a baby. They do not want you thinking about that baby. And the Supreme Court has refused to acknowledge that baby as a human being, but that's a human being. And science has declared that. And I'm not just talking about conception. We're talking about the fact that these kids are big enough to hold in your arms. There are children that have been survivors of abortion, and we've had several of them on this program. This is something they do not want you talking about. So ABC, NBC, PBS, LA Times, Sacramento Bee, all of the major media outlets are determined to have a manual of style that makes choice preferable. And then they redefine choice to be, it's only early on. And it's only if there's hard cases beyond that. Don't be so upset about it. They're designed to lull you, my friends. And if you don't realize what this FOIA request does, this FOIA request puts in ink, it puts the lie to what they've been showing us up to now. And you need to be upset. You need to let people know. You will be able to see this request, the answer to this request, at the California Prolife Council website. Click on it. And on page 2 is everything you just heard from Sheila. Their open admission of funding any abortion for any reason at any gestational age. And if that doesn't upset you, then you can't be upset. Then you're living in the wrong world. You need to realize you've been lied to, and it's about human beings that you're being lied to. And that needs to motivate you to communicate to others and to speak up about this and do something. So California Pro-Life, that's why we're here, to help you cut through the fog of the deceit and to stand up for life. And we're going to give you the tools to do that. Sheila, is there anything else to the legal significance? Do you want to talk about the distinction between Roe and Doe?
Yeah, I would. I think it's important for people to realize that what California does is not a departure from Supreme Court precedent. It's not a departure from California statute. What the Supreme Court did when it legalized abortion or forced states to perform abortions, essentially, is it provided a framework for when abortions can be supposedly banned. Now, that framework was slightly changed in Casey, but basically, as it stands right now, a state can only ban abortion, and I'm putting ban in quotes, they can only ban abortion after viability. However, they must include an exception for the life and health of the mother. Now, when people hear that, they typically think you're talking about a serious health problem, like life-altering health problem. But this is not the case. The case of Doe v. Bolton, which was a companion case to Roe, defined health very liberally. It includes physical, emotional, psychological, familial, and the woman's age. That's a quote directly from Doe v. Bolton. So when you say you can ban abortion after viability, but you have to provide an exception for health, what you're saying is, according to the abortionist, if this woman might have an emotional problem, or if she feels she's not ready because her family, is not ready to have another child, or she's not ready to have a child, she can have an abortion because that means her health is impaired. And what that translates to is abortion on demand. Now, California state law basically mirrors the wording in Casey. But when you see what they're actually doing with Medi-Cal funds, that basically belies that there is no real limitation on abortion because the health definition is so broad. You can have an abortion for virtually any reason. And it's the abortionist who gets to decide whether your health is impaired, and they're making money off of this.
Exactly right. It's the abortionist that decides, and that's what they're paid to do. So realize that is what's at stake now. And this admission that the state of California is going to throw a check their way and not ask about medical reasons and not ask about the health of the mother or the child, we're going to pay for that, is an out-and-out admission that Doe versus Bolton is the operant controlling legal authority over abortion. And if you don't understand Doe v. Bolton, as Sheila explained, that is the issue in abortion. It's the abortionist who decides. Justice Blackmun instructed abortionists directly in the Doe v. Bolton decision. He gave them those instructions that it could apply to any of that psychobabble, emotional, physical, psychological, familial. And he gets to decide. It didn't say at that moment even. He can conjecture, well, I think she's not going to be able to handle this child in 2 months, in 2 years. I get to decide as the abortionist that she can't handle it. Therefore, her health is at stake. And the abortion continues. State of California has put it in ink. You can find this at californiaprolife.org. This is blockbuster if you are willing to look at it. You must look at it. Make sure your friends know about it, that's now the law. What LA Times, NBC, PBS, ABC, the AP style book, they are designed to put you to sleep, to get you to accept this as the status quo. Don't go along with that. Please understand you're in a battle of ideas. Please understand you have a duty in this battle to stand up. And it's not just a metaphor that it's a battle. Lives, literally, will be taken if you do nothing. Lives can be saved if you are informed and take wise action. Sheila, thank you so much.
Sure, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Life Matters continues after this.
You know about our car donation program at California Pro-Life. We use one of the most respected programs in the nation. Go to the California Pro-Life page, californiaprolife.org. Scroll to the bottom and click on Donate My Car. It's that easy. Did you know you can also donate any vehicle, boat, motorhome, or even personal property? If you are nearing retirement age, you can also get a tax deduction by earmarking a portion of your upcoming compulsory distributions from your 401k. Just email us for information. California Pro-Life is fighting to equip California pro-lifers with understanding and the tools to again protect the unborn and other vulnerable innocents. Thank you for your help in this battle. Go to californiaprolife.org. That's californiaprolife.org for more information.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
So I hope you realize just how important this information is from Sheila Green. The fact that the state of California has an ink, that they're paying for these abortions at any time, for any reason or no reason in particular. There's nothing wrong with the baby. There's nothing wrong, in quotes, with the mother. You're paying for this through your tax money. You need to let people know. Again, go to californiaprolife.org. and get your information there. Download that information. Please let other people in your church know this. If you want to be a church contact for California Pro-Life, you can sign up there. If you would like to help us out and be a friend of life, you You can do it right where you are. This issue is not dependent on a handful of people like Sheila and myself. The right to life is an issue that everyone should be involved in. And it's not just about how you feel. It's about objective facts. If you are committed to protecting the unborn child, make sure you use these facts that people do agree with you on. They may disagree with you when it comes to early abortions. And that's why the media wants you to talk about it early on. That's why that reporter wanted to say, well, yeah, but when does life begin? They want to talk about things that you cannot see in order to make you look bad, that it's all about how you feel. It's about your theology. This isn't about my theology, and it's not about your theology. Either we are objectively killing human beings and throwing them away because they're, quote, unwanted, or we're not. If human abortion does not kill a unique human being, then science is wrong. They are the ones who are dismissing science. It's a scientific, objective fact that every abortion kills a unique human being. And it's important that you use the resources available. So at California Pro-Life, you can download the information. You can get the tools for your community. These facts are very important. You've got to get them out. We must be our own media. Don't be dependent on what the LA Times or NBC tells you. They actually tend to lie. When it comes to science, they themselves want to categorize human beings as being the problem, the overpopulation attitude. They want to dismiss human lives themselves as the problem. They don't use science. Science is actually on the side of life. It's important now that the state of California, in ink, is admitting they'll kill babies through the entire length of pregnancy. They'll kill those babies, and there's nothing need be wrong with that child. There need be nothing wrong with the mother. Your tax money is paying for late-term abortions. When people realize that, they don't agree with abortion. So get the tools you need. Go to CaliforniaProlife.org. That's CaliforniaProlife.org. Get these resources. Consider helping out. You're going to be hearing about some other projects regarding this same issue now as we go into the summer of 2020. There's a lot of things that California needs to confront regarding how we treat children that are being thrown away. They're literally being thrown in the trash. How do you feel about that? The average Californian actually doesn't agree with that. And you're going to hear a lot more about it as we go deeper into what's really happening in California, the real truth, the real news, the real facts about the nature of life in California.
Learn more about everything in today's show online at lifematters.life, where you'll find all the resources you need to protect life. Life Matters is a production of the California Prolife Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life.